On this episode, we'll discuss practical tips for healthy church accounting. Well, hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast, the show that is dedicated to inspiring leaders and empowering healthy churches. I'm Kendall Connor, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jess Moore. How are you today, Jess?
Hello, Kendall. I am good. Excited to talk about some numbers.
I know. Well, you know what? This is. I hope they're right out of the gate that we don't immediately lose folks if they think that we're going to only just talk about numbers and spreadsheets and things like today. But I think we're going to bring a fresh take to this subject, don't you?
Agreed. Yes, our guest is very funny human, so that's helpful. And it's going to be a great conversation. I just know it.
The thing that I can appreciate about today's topic is it's something that applies not just to some churches or maybe a church over here or maybe a church over there. It literally is vital for every single church. Every church has to have accounting. You're going to have offerings that come in. You're going to be thinking about donations and managing those things, tracking funds. You're going to make sure that all of those gifts are, getting to their intended purposes. You've got the tithes, you've got the offerings, the online gifts, accounts payable, accounts receivable, payroll, reporting, all these things, Jess. There's kind of a lot that goes into this.
Yeah, and I'm going to assume too, I think this is a fair assumption, that most people don't get into ministry because they love accounting.
Yes. Now, there's going to be a couple of those, and maybe our guest today may be one of those people who feels that way. However, I'm thinking I could tell you that that's not why I got into ministry, and I'm sure that some of our listeners today they may feel the same way. I think that's a fair assessment, Jess.
Yeah.
But here's what I know: it is important. And so I just recently, you hosted a webinar on this subject. Is that right?
We did, yes, and it was great. We had the chat be chatting. I mean, it was a very engaging webinar. Listen, no, for real. I was a little hesitant. I was like, maybe we won't have, a ton of people registered, but we had record registration.
Amazing.
We had high attendance and people were super engaged. So overall, I think I learned so much. And so now I'm basically an expert. Like, we didn't have to pull him into this conversation because I feel like I could speak to this, but but I'm really glad that we are pulling someone in that is an expert.
I'm excited about it. So for just so that we have that on the record, I want to make sure if anyone wants to go and look that up, of course, we'll link it up. That webinar was called Solving Common Church Accounting Challenges. Kind of a word or tongue twister.
Mouthful.
There.
Yep. Yeah,
but it was really good. And so when I saw that webinar, I thought, man, we have really got to get this on the podcast. And the guest that you had with you on the webinar who talked through so much of it is a member of our team at Ministry Brands. And I'm excited to have him as a guest with us today. It is Jonathan Howell. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about him before we jump into our conversation with him. He spent more than a decade working alongside churches, alongside nonprofits, really helping them to navigate the practical realities of accounting, of financial stewardship. And he's got a background in accounting software implementation. And so he brings a lot of hands-on experience and kind of those real world challenges for ministries of all sizes. So he's based in Charleston, South Carolina. And I love this about him. He serves at his local church as an elder. And he's actively involved as the treasurer of the school of his kids' school's booster club, which I think is just really cool. He's actually out there doing a lot of this stuff. And so I'm excited for him to walk us through some of those practical tips. Because this is a unique topic today, I do just want to put that little disclaimer out there for all of our listeners out there. You already know, if you've listened to this for any amount of time, I am not a financial expert. Jess, you're not a financial expert. Let's be honest about this. Today's information is today's episode is all about just getting that educational content out there. We just want to be helpful to you. And this isn't intended to take the place of any of the legal or the tax or accounting advice that you would get from your accountant, from your tax professional. Definitely seek those out before you make any financial decisions. Every church situation is different. And so One other housekeeping note, Jess, we always do this. We want to tell all our folks, make sure you're following us wherever you're
Mhm.
subscribed. We want to make sure that you don't miss a thing. All
Yep.
right. I'm excited to jump in. Let's welcome our guest, Jonathan Howell. How are you today, Jonathan?
I am doing well. Great to talk to y'all.
I'm so excited. You and Jess, y'all were like a dream team on this webinar you just did. I thought
Went
that
pretty
was
good.
awesome.
So
Went pretty good. Not gonna lie about it.
far, we're a couple of minutes in. I've been called the dream team. I've been called an expert. I'm not sure I love where this is going, but we're gonna try.
Zero pressure, Jonathan. We're just here to have a nice, friendly conversation about accounting.
Just having fun the way accountants are known to do. I love it.
I
Yes.
love that. Well, look, we kind of read that public bio, but I'm just kind of curious, is there anything else that we missed, something that your family and your friends would know about you?
I'm a big fan of heavy metal and 80s hair metal. Which
Wow,
doesn't
okay.
always
I like
That's
it.
awesome.
doesn't always go with the overall church motif, that part. And most people hear the accent and assume that I'm a country fan. Nope, I'll take Metallica and Motley Crue and so on and be just fine.
Wow. Yeah, that is surprising.
Surprise
a little.
facts.
I dig
Yeah.
it.
I love
Mhm.
it. Well, I can't wait to the end when we go. We're gonna ask another question, music related, towards the end. So I'm excited to hear your answer on that, based off of that answer there. Well, for all of our leaders, our church leaders, church teams that are out there who are listening to this, who may not have an accounting background,
Mhm.
I'm just kind of curious to hear it from you. What is exactly church accounting, and why is it so different than accounting that would be for a for-profit, a business,
Mhm.
or even other nonprofits that are different than churches?
Mhm. So when you're looking at for-profit accounting versus nonprofit accounting, the biggest difference is that nonprofits have to track restrictions and have to track revenues and expenditures and assets and liabilities and everything else according to whether they are restricted or unrestricted.
Okay.
Restricted means restricted by time and or restricted by purpose. So if someone gives us a gift and says, "Here's $1,000 to be spent on the new roof," we are not allowed, as we do any nonprofit accounting, we're not allowed to say, "Well, thank you for the gift," and then go spend it on a new van, anything like that. If a gift is
Sure.
designated to be spent on the new roof and we accept it, we then have to spend it on the new roof, and we have to
Mm.
prove that we have done that we have noted in the accounting system, this money is for the new roof, and we have spent this much on the new roof, and we have this much remaining to be spent. That's and all nonprofits have to deal with that, not just churches. And that's the single biggest difference between for-profit accounting and nonprofit accounting. Um,
Okay.
Church accounting, when you get right down to it, is basically like or really, really similar to nonprofit accounting as a whole. What churches will run into even more than other nonprofits, you've got different revenue streams. We know that we've got a lot of contributions at a church, but contributions happen to other
Mhm.
nonprofits as well. And could be some tuition from the preschool or from, in my case, a K-12 school
Mm.
that's attached to the church. That can be its own thing. These are elements that are they're not really unique to churches. Other nonprofits deal with it as well. I would say that there's a bit of a mindset when it comes to churches that I see most often, even more
Mm.
than other nonprofits. And that mindset is, and everybody brace yourself, pull the feelers in a little bit. The mindset is, well, we've always done it this way.
Mm.
Therefore, it has to always be done this way.
Wow.
And
Mm.
that's a tricky thing to overcome for a church,
Yeah.
because in a lot of cases, a church does something a certain way because, to a certain extent, that's how Jesus commanded that it be done. Like when we observe
Mm.
the Lord's Supper, we're not doing that
Yeah.
because someone in the 1960s thought it might be a good idea, right? We're doing that because Jesus himself commanded it. Now, whether it's bread, wafers, grape juice, wine, we're not getting into that. But we know that observing the Lord's Supper, we know that observing baptism, these things have been in place for 2,000 years, and there's a reason for that. So we have to be
Right.
really mindful when we look at doing accounting in a church a certain way because it's always been done that way, and say, no, that's not a good enough reason. At a church specifically, some
Yeah.
things have always been done this way, and that's a good thing. And in other cases, we may benefit from a bit of a mindset switch.
It's a
Yeah.
really good point, and I love that you kinda pointed out that, yeah, there are some things that we don't wanna change, right?
Mhm.
That it's good that
Absolutely.
we hold on to tradition and we go about it that way. However, when it comes to some other things where,
Mhm.
yeah, it's not set in stone, it's not something that, we're, given specific instructions on in scripture or tradition, it's like, yeah, it is good to get a fresh take on it, and so I appreciate kinda that explainer.
Mhm.
I'm sure that every ministry leader who's been involved, for has been involved on a high level of a church staff, or has ever served on a board or on a high level committee, has experienced those funds that you described too, and
Mhm.
those are really important for a church. Things have to be done in a certain way, and also I think it just is a matter of just being a good steward, right? Like we want to make
Absolutely.
Right.
sure that we do,
100%.
yeah, that we're going about things the right way. We want to, when people give to our ministry, it really isn't our ministry at all, is it? It is really just trying to make sure that it's getting out there to do the work of the Lord, and that
Mhm.
it's going, and we want to be stewards as best as we can.
We can certainly, we're not going to, unless you surprise me, but we can certainly name some churches that have lost sight of their stewardship mandate, and
Sure.
the
Mm.
results are shaky at best.
Yeah, we want to make sure
Mhm.
that we're going about things the right way. So I love your heart in that. I'm kind of curious. I know for many leaders that we've talked about this. Accounting isn't exactly why they got into ministry.
Yep.
Uh, Many church leaders may even feel that there's a tension. There's like an anxiety that comes with the subject of accounting. Why do you feel like church finances feel so intimidating? Why is this so confusing for so many leaders?
So that's a really good question. And I'll give you a little bit of my background here and why I'm sitting here talking about accounting. In the years that I was implementing accounting software, nonprofit accounting software, a couple different companies, a lot of people would ask me, Jonathan, did you major in accounting or in computer science? And my answer was always totally truthful answer, haha, communications, believe it or not. So what in the world am I doing? So I had a business minor, and as part of that business minor, I had a principles of financial accounting class. And my professor, Dr. Waits, was her name, at the University of South Carolina, Aiken. Go Pacers, go Gamecocks. But Dr. Waits explained accounting so clearly and in such a straightforward
Mm,
manner that I was able to understand it. Not only was I able to understand it, but a guy that sat next to me, his name was Chris, he was a history major coming into this principles of financial accounting class. It was explained so well and he understood it so clearly that he changed his major from history to accounting. Okay.
wow.
I say all that
Wow.
to say, if you have somebody sit down with you to explain how accounting works, what's a credit, what's a debit, what are
Mm.
the normal balances for each type of account? What happens here? If someone takes a little while to explain that, in my opinion, the fear and the mystery of accounting goes away.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
in my opinion, the fear and the uncertainty that we see from church leadership is because it's so easy for Jonathan to sit here and say, "Yeah, I took a college class on it and it made sense." Yet,
Yeah.
when am I going to fit that in my day, Jonathan? As I'm wearing 11 different hats already, so it's
Mm.
the I would say the normal fear of the unknown because no one has sat down and explained it
Mm.
to an executive pastor. Here's how accounting works. The other part, of course,
Right.
is when you hear accounting, the next word that you think of is auditors. And that means the next thing that you're thinking of is sitting in a
Yeah.
room with a light shine in your face as if it's the FBI interrogating you on where the dollars have gone. That the one thought flows from another. And in my opinion, if people would think more, you said the word finance. If people would think less about what we're talking here as accounting, what debits and credits do I need to create here? What debits and credit? And they would think from a broader level of church finance. How am I getting money? How am I spending money? How am I stewarding the money? In what areas could I
Mm.
be a better steward?
Mm,
If they
good way
would
to
use
put it.
this language in their own heads rather than, okay,
Yeah.
debit's on the left and credit's on the right, and they have to balance. And when
Yeah.
do I debit it? I think life would be much easier or at least less scary for people.
Mm.
Now,
Sounds less
with
scary. You just telling
you,
me
you
that.
with apologies to any actual accountants who are listening here, we know that the accounting part has to actually be thought of and be thought of in depth. But step back from that to
Right.
more say the executive pastor role and how we come at it from that
Mhm.
angle.
It
Mm.
brings a lot of clarity to it, and I love that you just pointed out that it takes away some of the mystery just the more that you get into it.
Mhm,
Just simple
Mm.
conversations, even like this, of just being able to hear a little bit more about it, I feel like can kinda take away some of that tension,
mhm.
and it doesn't. Yeah, the word au you said the word audit, yeah, it brings a little bit of that fear,
Yep.
right? But, how much of there's so much more, to accounting, to finances
Mhm,
than just, kind of the scary topics like that, and so
mhm,
I appreciate that you bring that
Yeah,
up.
the only other thing I would add is I think and this is me just speaking from experiences with having talked about giving for such a long
mhm.
time, but two, because there have been a number of instances that very publicly churches mismanaged
There
money,
have.
I think that part would be intimidating too, where, there's maybe a temptation for some church leaders to kind of step back and say, I just don't want to hold that
That's fair.
responsibility. I don't want that level of understanding or visibility into this. I trust you. But with that, Jonathan, we kind of
Yeah,
talked about that in the
Mhm,
webinar. Like with that maybe single point of trust, like there's not a lot of accountability there. And so that's kind of a scary place to be too. So I think you're absolutely right. I think it's who needs to know what at what level. And as a church leader, if you are the executive pastor, you need enough information to know how much are we making, how much is going out, how are we stewarding it,
that's
how
right.
can we do it
mhm,
better. And that's what you should be able to get from, maybe your finance person at the church, your
That's
treasurer or
right.
whatever. And then with a good software, that's a lot easier to do as well because then you've got that um the machine kind of doing that math for you and,
mhm.
and keeping up with that. So yeah, I wouldn't wanna be that
100%.
person. I'm horrible at numbers, so I would not at that accounting for my ministry.
If you
Jess, you
can
bring up a great point. Yeah, go ahead, Jonathan.
I was gonna say, you don't have to be amazing with numbers. If you can say, "I've got $100 on this side, I need to have $100 on that side." You can understand accounting, believe it or not.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I budget for our family,
There
so
you
maybe
go,
I
you're
could do
getting
it.
there. I love it.
What were you gonna say, Kendall?
Well, and Jonathan, you brought up a good point, just about or Jess, you brought up a good point about talking about having multiple people involved, and it kinda leads
Mhm.
into our next question.
Mm.
Jonathan, when we talk about healthy church accounting, we talk a lot about healthy churches on this podcast,
Mhm,
but when it comes to healthy church accounting, what does healthy really mean when it comes to this area beyond just having the numbers balanced?
mhm. So healthy, and this part is not going to be unique to churches. Healthy is going to mean accurate information, timely information, information
Yeah,
that is answering questions for the leadership at the church that enables them to make better
yeah,
decisions and better run the business of the church. The
Mhm.
biggest addition to this, and again, this is not specific to churches. I see this in other nonprofits as well,
yeah,
but I do see it a lot in churches. Jess, you and I talked about this on the webinar, and it got eyes were opened. A little bit of discomfort was had, but it has to be said. Healthy church accounting means that when you generate financial statements, when you generate reports, when you present information to people, you generate that information directly out of your accounting system rather than going to Excel. And a
Mm.
lot of our audience just
sure.
flinched a little bit here because Excel is in use a lot. I'm going to say exactly what I said in the webinar. I'm not knocking Excel. I use Excel just about every day. Excel is a great data manipulation tool. The key word in that sentence is manipulation. If you are using Excel to generate your financial statements, you have lost the audit trail, you've lost the accountability, you've lost the ability to prove, yep, from transaction first entered to money spent to reconciled with my bank statement, that's all out the window because anyone can make Excel say anything they want. So, in my opinion, biggest hallmark of a healthy church when it comes to accounting is that they are not using Excel to generate the financial statements that they present. They are generating their financial statements and other financial reports directly out of their books.
Oh, that's good wisdom, and we've talked about the different types of software and things like that, and I just full transparency for all of our listeners. We have Ministry Brands does offer a software that's made just for this, that's made for churches, and so a lot of the recommendations and things like that that I feel like you bring to the table, Jonathan, it is you very knowledgeable about that software, and so you offer a lot of expertise on that, and we saw that in the webinar as well. It is good to have that software that's beyond something that's just a spreadsheet. Just thinking about Excel, it is important to have that, right?
Critical.
Yeah.
Yep. And I will say, I've not mentioned the name of our accounting software. There are other accounting softwares out there that can fill your needs. I would prefer that you use ours.
Yeah.
But you don't have to.
That's fair. 100% fair. I love that it is the main challenge that I'm hearing is really the to have the healthy church accounting. It is just taking it beyond something that is just not made for that. And
Absolutely.
Excel is amazing. I think about how often I use Excel, but yeah, you got to have something a little bit more advanced. I'm curious, Jonathan, from your experience, what's a common accounting issue that you see churches that that they're facing that maybe they don't realize is hurting them? Maybe it is Excel. I don't know.
But that's going to be the most common one is relying on Excel to generate let's say relying on Excel to generate usable information. Okay, now that's a key.
Yeah.
Take one step back. The reason they're having to rely on Excel is that their accounting system in place is no longer meeting their needs or was never meeting their needs. And that gets into, and now if we keep going down this route, we would get deeply into click by click accounting system setup. We're not going to do that today. But we know that in a lot of cases, as you look at what's called the chart of accounts, accountants are nodding. All the non-accountants are looking at me a little bit sideways. The chart of accounts is just the structure. Think of it as the structure, this number and a dash, and this number and a dash, the structure against which debits and credits are entered. And in a lot of cases, the chart of accounts was designed 10 years ago, 20 years ago, with no real thought given to expansion, to what the needs of the church will be later, to growing with the church. And so in a lot of cases, church accountants, church finance staff, church leaders are dealing with an accounting system that does not meet their needs in the first place. And that's why they have to rely on Excel or feel like they have to rely on Excel. So that underlying design of the books themselves is critical to help you avoid the next problem of Excel.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that makes so much sense. And you also pointed out that if you are kind of going by the same thing that you came up with 20 years ago, you have to adapt, right? You have to adjust this along the way, and bring up some really good points with that. I'm just kind of curious. I mean, like, I know reporting is a big factor that comes up with, making sure that you have your accounting right for your church. You want to make sure that you have consistent financial reporting. Why is something like clarity such a big ingredient, such a critical ingredient for churches when they're making these reports and even helping to make those financial decisions?
It's the helping make financial decisions part that, in my opinion, is more important. Clarity is pretty easy to achieve. And by that, I mean, if you look at a report and you say, yep, we had $1,000 in revenue last month, that clarity is achievable. The
Yeah.
key is that the clarity needs to be addressing some question that your leadership is actually having, or that
Okay.
the clarity in your financial reporting is allowing leadership to review what has really transpired in real life and then make go
Right.
forward decisions that will make real life better and that will improve the business of the church.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
in a lot of cases, I see churches that present very clear, straightforward reports. They have the clarity,
Yeah.
but the reports are not answering any question that anybody in leadership is actually asking or that
Mm.
anybody needs to
Mm,
know.
yeah.
And so the structuring your reports so that they generate usable information so that you can continue to refine your church's business is really what we're after. Rather than, and here I go again,
Yeah.
rather than generating these reports every month, because these reports have been generated every month since time out
Right.
of
Right.
mind, and therefore that's what we do.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question. I'm setting you up for this a little bit because I know the answer, but I want our listeners to also hear the answer to this. So, what if I am the kids' ministry
Mhm.
director and I need an updated report on my budget and where we're at? Can I ask you for that every single month without annoying you?
So, so the answer to the exact question that you're asking is yes, absolutely. If I am the church finance staff, I would want the rest of leadership to be asking me for let
Yeah,
me edit myself. I would want the rest of my leadership to be reviewing their reports on a regular basis to see how they're doing against budget, to see where they need to improve. I would
Yeah.
much rather the rest
right,
of my leadership be reviewing those reports instead of ignoring them and they run out of money with 4 months
right.
left to go in the
Yes.
year. Then we have a problem.
There you go.
Now, does it annoy me when leadership asks me to generate reports? No, not really. Would it be better if those leaders could self-serve and log into the finance, not Excel, log into the finance system as a view-only user and generate their own real-time up to the second reports whenever they want? In my opinion, that would be easier so that
Ding,
they
ding,
don't even
ding, ding,
have to
ding.
ask.
Yeah. I like that because, it's funny, as the budget, it is when you're preparing your budget for the entire year, there's gonna be so much can change within 365 days, and there's so many things that are gonna come up. You're gonna face different seasons.
Mhm,
Any ministry leader has felt that tension of trying to make everything work within budget, right? Like,
mhm.
it can be difficult. I love that you said, and you bring up a great point with it, is that when you have that clarity and you have the ability to kind of check in on that without being a burden, um, it's gonna go so far. I'll
Mhm.
say that.
Yeah.
It's gonna make such a big difference because it allows you to know, there's gonna be times when you overspend, but there's also gonna be those seasons when you realize, "Man, we've got so much money left that we can try this idea. We can run with this.
Mm,
We can, squeeze this in before the end of the
Yes.
year." And, just that transparency, it goes far, and it is, just a little bit better than Excel.
So because I am the treasurer, as we mentioned, I'm the treasurer for the booster club at my kid's school. I
Yes.
happen to know that we're going to be able to provide more scholarship dollars this year than we thought
mm,
we would be
Yeah.
able to. And that's why
Yeah.
that's why we run the
love that.
booster club. And that's
That's it.
that's
Mhm.
putting financial info to work to actually improve people's lives. And that's what, not just me as treasurer, but that's why we are wanting to look at the numbers, just whether we're good with numbers or not, quote unquote.
Yeah.
We're able to do that, use these numbers to make people's lives a little bit better. And now we're getting into the point.
Right.
I
Mm.
love that kind of position on that because it does kind of change the way you think about it. Is when you
Mhm.
think about these as opportunities to be able to go in and make a difference and change those lives. That's a big deal.
Absolutely.
I know that so often, Jonathan, churches, these leaders that are serving, they're often stretched thin. They're wearing multiple hats,
Mhm.
and I'm just kind of curious, is there any, you know, practical accounting habits that you feel like these leaders could prioritize to try to make some progress in this area?
That's a really good question. And thinking through that a little bit, absolutely. Everybody's wearing multiple hats. I have yet to talk to anyone at a church who runs out of to-do items before they run out of work
Mm.
hours, right? It's
Yes.
always the
Yeah.
opposite. Um, when you get right down to it, it's going to be a question of priorities. And it's going to be a question of, look, where does timely, accurate entry into our accounting system fall on the list of priorities? And if other things are taking precedence for the finance staff, and let me add a
Mm.
caveat here in that some people listening to me will have, yep, a finance staff of 5 or 6 people. And
Right.
other churches listening to me right now will be like, Jonathan, I am the senior pastor and I am the finance staff and I am the janitor. Thank you very much. Talk about my finance
Right.
staff.
Yeah.
I
Right.
get that. Totally get that. When you get right down to it, in my opinion, timely, accurate data entry into the accounting system needs to take priority over a lot of other
Yes.
things that may be able to be handled by volunteers instead. By that, I mean, let me give you an
Mm.
example.
Right. Ooh,
If
good.
if there's data that needs to be entered into the accounting system and there is the pancake supper fundraiser that is coming up and that needs to be managed, church staff need, in my opinion, and I'm stepping on toes, just bear with me. In my opinion, church staff needs to prioritize the accurate, timely entry of the financial data and let
Yeah.
volunteers run the pancake breakfast fundraiser. Now, if the
Mhm.
response then is, well, Jonathan, that again sounds great, but no volunteers are stepping up. If I don't run the pancake breakfast fundraiser, it's not going to happen. Is the counter my counter to the counter? We're counter punching here, but bear with me. My counter is, look, if there are no volunteers willing to step up for the pancake breakfast, it may not need to be such a priority. But
Hmm.
Mm.
we know that timely, accurate entry of financial data has to be a priority because that's what keeps your 501(c)(3) active. That's what keeps you out
Right.
of jail.
Yeah.
No
Pretty
lie.
important.
No lie. I mean, the when we talk about development or fundraising or the whoever it is that brings money into a church or think broader nonprofits, fundraising and development keep the nonprofit in business. Finance keeps the nonprofit out of jail. That's literally how that
Mm.
Wow.
goes. And in my
Yeah.
opinion, that timely accurate entry needs to be priority for the staff and let volunteers handle other things that need to be handled. Easy
It
for
just
me to
brings
say
up
Mm.
sitting in this chair. I
Sure.
get that,
Sure.
but I also don't want anybody listening here to go to jail.
It brings up good points because I love that you said you need to have them in there timely. You need to make sure that they're accurate, all of those things. I even think down to as someone who served on a church staff for a long time, being able to have, it's making sure that you have all of the things that are accounted for. I mean, turning in the receipts. The receipts I feel like is
Mhm.
I feel like
Yes,
it's such a I mean, that is something that I don't think that any church staff person enjoys is making sure that all of those things are, but it's the
absolutely.
small things that have to
Mm.
go into making the church operate, to make sure that everything is accounted for. You have to do this.
Mhm.
It's not the kind of thing that, you can just let slip through the cracks. I mean, you have to
Absolutely.
take care of these things for the church to be able to go on and do the things that it does.
That's right.
Well, and I think if you've done a good job, I talk about culture so much and the culture of your church
Mhm.
and how you can like back this all the way up to like, this should be something that we live and breathe. Stewardship
Yep.
is a commandment. Like
Yep.
it's not an
Yes.
option. Like God
Yeah.
cannot continue to bless
That's
your
true.
ministry if you are not stewarding
That's
your
it.
funds well. So like, yeah, stay out of jail, but also like stay within the
Absolutely.
Lord's mission and command and, order for your church. And I think if the other things don't speak to maybe people like me who like have like an allergy to this stuff, I feel like that would resonate. That would resonate as a leader of your church. What does it look like to exercise financial stewardship, right? And in a practical daily way. So Kendall, you mentioned receipts, and I'm sure
There's
they're more like
processes. Yeah.
actual,
Yeah.
steps that you should be taking on a regular basis. But
100%.
at the end of the day, it needs to be part of your church culture. And in order to facilitate that well, you need the right tools so that you're being held accountable, so that this is not all on one person, and so that you can make super informed decisions. I think that's really, the bulk of it. That should resonate with everybody.
Absolutely.
You
And
s- Go ahead.
I was going to say, I myself am not a detail person. So this does not come from the place of someone who loves the minutia, the nitty gritty of verifying every line on every receipt. I don't love that myself. That's not my natural inclination, but it has to be done. Attention to detail
Absolutely
matters when you get into this realm.
I think the truth, and Jess, you said this so well, it goes into trust. And, we want to make sure that we're stewarding things well and that we're leading as we should be. And so it kind of brings up my next question to you, Jonathan. And that trust is such a big part of church leadership. If we go about this the right way, if we have our accounting is done in a healthy way, it's done, in a way that honors the Lord and it honors these givers, these donors. How does that help to build trust with our boards, with our staff, with our congregation, if we go about this the right way?
So this is one of those times I would say trust equals transparency. By that, I mean, think back to our example of that Jess asked, would I, as the finance director, be offended if the children's ministry director asked me for a budget report every month? No, wouldn't be offended at all. You know what would be even cooler, though, is if the kids ministry director and every other department head were able to log into the financial system and run their own reports anytime they want. We initially looked at that as, man, wouldn't that be a huge efficiency gain, which it absolutely would. But the more people in the church, be that department heads, staff members, elder board members, whomever,
the right people,
the more you have the right people with the ability to log in to the finance system and run reports for themselves and view the activity that is transpiring, the more transparent you are and the more trust you're building, because it shows that not only do you have nothing to hide, you're not leaving yourself any option to hide.
Yeah.
Right? If people can sign in and say, all right, let me see the complete church financial picture. Let me see how we're doing on the funds for the new roof, how much raised and spent.
Yes.
How much money did the pancake breakfast actually raise last year? Let me log in and see. The more people are able to do that.
You gotta stop saying pancakes, Jonathan.
Are we
really craving
causing hunger
like
here all of a sudden?
Some breakfast out.
The golf tournament. How did the golf tournament go last year? Now Jess is going to start swinging a club there while she's sitting there.
There you go.
Nah, I'm good with that one.
now, couple of caveats here, because there's some people are hearing this and going, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea," and some people are hearing this going, "Wait, are you kidding me?" Couple of caveats. I'm talking view only access
there you go.
into the books.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about anybody, the elder board, logging in and creating new transactions or deleting data, heaven forbid. I'm talking about view only access into the accounting system, and also recognizing that there will be some things like salary accounts, for example, that you'll probably want to keep hidden from everyone outside of like the elder board and the finance director, HR director, stuff like that. But apart from those caveats, sunlight is the best disinfectant, as they say. The more people you have with eyes on your finances, to whatever extent they choose to put them, that transparency and that trust, as you're showing that, again, I have nothing to hide, and in fact, I'm not giving myself away to hide it
Yeah.
is critical.
Right.
Very good wisdom, and, it comes back to that single word of trust.
Mhm.
Like that transparency leads to so much trust, and I feel like the church can thrive, when you have these things set up. When you a lot of times, like it feels scary to think of we're gonna put these guardrails or we're gonna do these or we're gonna go about things like this. But really, when you have those processes in place, it really sets you up to go further, faster. It allows you to move and to make decisions and to be
Mhm.
able to do all of these things because you've got the support of your people. You've got,
Mhm.
that trust that has been built. And so I feel like you've offered a lot of wisdom to kind of lean towards that today. So
Okay, so
I love that.
that's expert, that's dream team, that's wisdom.
Mhm. Yeah.
I have no idea what you're setting me up for here, but
Uh, I love it. I know
something's
it is
coming,
good
I know.
wisdom. That's so funny. It is good wisdom though, and I'm curious. I want to know some more of that wisdom. If a church wanted to take one step towards getting healthier church accounting this year, what would be your recommendation to them, Jonathan?
Review the chart of accounts structure, determine whether
Mm.
your existing chart of accounts structure, this is language that the accountants will know more than the non-finance people, but bear with me.
Yeah,
Review your existing chart of accounts structure,
yeah,
review how much you're doing in Excel, and
mm,
ask yourself, okay, am I doing Excel because I always have? And in reality, if I look at my existing accounting system, my existing chart structure, can I get what I need straight out of my system without relying on Excel? If so, start doing it. Okay.
yeah,
If not,
Mm.
if you look at your chart of accounts and the structure and ask yourself, okay, is this working for me? No, it's not working for me. It's forcing me, I'll say air quotes, it's forcing me to use Excel. It is time to start thinking about a new chart of account structure in that existing system, or even getting a new accounting system and designing the chart of accounts that will actually work for your church and
yeah,
allow you to get away from using Excel. I fully realize this is a big deal. This is not something that it's like, oh, we need a new starter
Mm.
motor in the van. Well, we'll take it there. We'll have it back in 2 days.
Mm.
It's a lot bigger than that. I get that. But to
yeah,
be
Right.
a healthy church, review the chart of account structure and ask yourself, is it meeting my
Mm.
needs as is or not? And if the answer is it's not, that has to change.
Call
It
Jonathan.
call
yeah.
me and we'll make it happen. Technically, to
John,
be fair, you could call someone else. I just don't understand why you would.
that's so funny. Oh well, I love that we do. It is a great point to talk about. That we have a great solution for this. It is worth checking out, and
Mhm.
I'm just
It is.
curious. Tell us a little bit about that before we move on. We got a couple more questions we want to ask you, but I want to make sure that we do have the opportunity to at least explain what that is, Jonathan. If you can give
Mhm.
just like 1,000-foot view of that, 10,000-foot view.
Here at Ministry Brands, we have an accounting system for churches. It's cleverly called Ministry Brands Accounting. So we didn't want to make it a mystery who's doing it and what it does. But we offer the accounting suite as part of our complete church management suite.
Yeah.
So family
Mm.
management and online giving and web streaming and webcasting and media storage and the complete accounting suite and any of the pieces thereof built
Yes.
from the ground up for church management specifically. My team and
Right.
I, that's what we do, and that's all we do.
I love that.
Mm.
Jonathan, if you had any encouragement to offer any of these church leaders, maybe they're listening to this today and they're just thinking, this is overwhelming. I don't know what you're talking about. Or maybe they just feel like, man, this is something that we, need to work on at our church. What encouragement would you give them today?
If you take a little bit of time and you have somebody walk through it with you, accounting is not really that intimidating. Accounting
Yeah.
is something that you can understand,
Mm.
realizing that, okay, there could be a little bit of effort, could be a little bit of learning. I get that. But the basics of accounting are understandable. And once understood, it starts to open up a lot of other possibilities in terms of how things could be tweaked to better your business. So
Yeah.
the word of and further, whatever you're doing today, and I know there's something. Everyone I'm talking to is doing something at their
That's
church
right.
because it's always been done that way. Whatever it is, from an accounting standpoint, that you're doing because it's always been done that way, it does not have to always be that way in the future. Things
Sure.
can
Yeah.
change when you get down to the structure of your accounting system, and though change can be painful, it leads to so many improvements. I've seen it, I don't know, a couple hundred times.
Mhm.
The improvements that
Mhm.
a well thought out, well designed chart of accounts that get you out of Excel and get your leadership the info that they need. You can tell I've
Yeah.
said this a few
Mm.
times. It matters, and it is achievable. It's not as
Mm.
intimidating as you may think going in.
Mm.
Mm.
It's good to hear. Jonathan, one of the big themes of our podcast is healthy churches, healthy leaders. And I just want to ask you, in your opinion, what would you say is one essential component of a healthy church?
Uh,
Doesn't have to be accounting
I
related
was
either.
going to say, well, focus on Scripture. Then, if we're, I'll start with the
Mm.
absolute foundational. If we're able
Mm,
to step outside of
mm,
accounting, uh,
absolutely.
Mhm.
focus on Scripture. Okay, that's too easy an answer. So think a little bit more. Think back to my example of, hey, we found additional scholarship dollars that we're able to provide.
Mm.
Don't get so caught up in the task that you're doing. Keep your eyes on who you're helping by doing the task.
Mm.
And if
Mm,
you're in the finance
That's
office,
good.
you may be in the back, and you may not see members or congregants generally over the course of your work week. That's fine. But the accurate and timely information that you're providing is allowing the executive pastor to direct more dollars where they're going to have more impact. And
That's
that
right.
matters.
That's
it
right.
does. And that sounds
It
healthy to
does.
me.
Mhm.
The way that we like to typically wrap up with our podcast here, Jonathan, is with a final five rapid fire round. Are you up for the challenge?
I'll go for it. Y'all hear my accent. I don't always talk all that quickly, but I'll try it.
Sounds
I was
good.
actually thinking maybe I ask these questions in a Southern accent because you both have an accent and I'm the only one that doesn't right now.
That'd be
But
perfect.
I think it'll be too distracting.
Perfect.
Okay, Jonathan, what is one book on this subject or similar that you would recommend to church leaders?
um, I spend surprisingly little time reading books about accounting and finance. Uh,
That's fair.
um,
What about a leadership book?
so right now, my community group, we're going through The Reason for God by Tim Keller.
Hmm.
Which is an apologetics book, more modern language than Mere Christianity, the C.S. Lewis
Mhm.
standard.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but walking through the book, The Reason for God, and the apologetics there, and just it forces us to think about why we believe what we believe and how we can talk
Mhm.
through why we believe what we believe with someone who
Yeah.
isn't already a believer. And that's
Yeah,
cool. Tim Keller,
so
RIP,
important.
wrote a lot of great stuff. And I'm really enjoying this
Mm.
the study that we're doing. The Reason for God, again, is the name of it.
The reason for God. Okay, love that. What is the last thing? This is a question that Kendall's excited about. What is the last thing that you listen to on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you stream
I was gonna
music?
say I have a subscription to neither. I do all of
Oh,
my music listening just off of YouTube, believe it or not. Um,
oh, okay.
and the what do I have right now? I've got a collection of AC/DC riffs paused on YouTube right
Mm.
now. But I will say I actually texted this to my dad. My dad he is as Southern as I am. He listens to Southern gospel and hymns. He and I have
Oh, I
argued
love
about
that.
music since I was 10 years old. But I sent him, this is cool. The video is called "What If It Is Well With My Soul" was symphonic rock, and it's an AI generated version
Ooh.
of It Is Well With My Soul, female vocalist, powerful, symphony, guitars, drums, the whole thing. It is amazing. And so over the past week or so, AI hard rock praise music, like old hymns turned heavy, has been coming
Interesting.
up in YouTube, and it is good stuff. Recommend it.
I bet that
I've
just
never gotten a
fills
chance
your
to talk about this on the podcast, but I'm with you. I love that is like the best YouTube rabbit hole that you can go down, right? Is like
Yep.
finding these AI versions of these songs where they change
It's
the genre. I love
amazing.
those. So
Wow,
I'm with you.
nice.
I'm
Now-
with you on this.
Now,
This is a whole new world.
to get outside of AI, I am old enough, believe it or not, that I have seen Stryper in concert 20 feet from the stage at the House of Blues in Myrtle Beach, and I got a guitar pick from that concert. So those of you who remember
So
Stryper,
cool.
shout out.
Very cool.
Wow. That
Love
just
it.
dated yourself
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, favorite piece of technology or software right now?
Ministry Brands Amplify Church Management System, obviously. That one's easy.
Obviously.
It sounds like that and AI is what is
That's gonna
what's
be-
occupying your time these days.
I don't use AI for
love it.
anything else. I write my own emails. Thank you very much. Other than
But you like it with the music.
other than cranking up music,
I
I
love it.
don't use AI.
Okay. This is the only one I'm going to ask in an accent. What is a quote or advice that stuck with you over the years?
Grip it and rip it.
Go for it,
Okay.
right?
If you
Wow,
remember from
I love that.
Tin Cup, when Kevin Costner's character spent 5 minutes, well, like 2 minutes, explaining the concept behind a golf swing and the rhythm and the poetry of it, and said, or the other school of thought is just grip it and rip it, and that's more my speed. I'm not an
Kinda
attention
love
to
it.
detail guy, as mentioned.
That's great. That's great. Okay. One thing that you would like to communicate to our audience of church leaders.
Don't panic. Things can be better. My team and I can even help make things better for you. So can others, and that's fine. And I'll admit that. But don't get stuck in a rut. Make some changes and make things better.
It's good.
It's good advice, and I feel like that's kind of been a theme throughout our conversation today, Jonathan. Is just don't feel like you got to stay with what you've done forever. Be willing to try something new. Be willing to change, and it sounds like some really good things can come on the other side from it. So,
And
I really appreciate your wisdom on that.
Along the with you again with the glazing me with the wisdom comment. So here's a joke, and I'll tell this one as a Southern Baptist. And it relates to everything that we've been talking about not being scared. How many Southern Baptists does it take to change a light bulb? Change? I get that. I can say that as a Southern Baptist. I get that a lot of times churches are resistant to that, and think back to our opening statement. In a lot of cases, there's a great reason for that. We lead people, or we point people to the gospel because that's what we've done for 2,000 years. But in other cases, change is good. Don't fear it. Embrace it. Try something. See what happens. Grip it and rip it.
That's great. Jonathan, I know that people are going to want to hear more from you. They're going to want to catch up with you. Where's the best place for them to contact you? Are you a LinkedIn kind of guy, or where can they find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Jonathan Howell. Or just email Ministry Brands and tell Ministry Brands that you'd like to purchase Amplify, and I got you.
And you can always find you there.
Easy to find me there.
Easy to find you there. I love that. Definitely for all of our listeners out there, follow Jonathan on LinkedIn, catch up with him. And of course, if you do want to find out some more about that software, we'd love to be able to help you with it. But overall, this has been a great conversation today. I've loved hearing your jokes. I've loved hearing your wisdom. I'll use that word again. And more than anything else, I appreciate your heart on this, because I know that you have that heart to help these ministry leaders out there. And so thank you so much for this conversation today.
Absolutely.
For Jess, I always will say thank you for being on here as well. And I loved hearing the Southern accent that you really tried.
It was pretty good.
I don't know that it's that. I don't know that it's 100% there, but I'm hoping that you'll break it out.
Wasn't terrible.
That you'll break it out some more. I love that.
I'll work on it.
So thank you to both, regardless of the Southern accents with it. And uh, I would say for all of our listeners out there, hey, be sure to check out all of our resources that we're going to link up in our show notes. We'll make sure that you have the links to all these things, the books and the software and all those different things. And if this episode has encouraged you, if it's been helpful to you at all, if it's
Mhm,
maybe
mhm.
even kind of led you towards thinking of rethinking how you can go about your church accounting, would you consider sharing it with a friend? Maybe share it with
Mhm.
someone that is serving in ministry, someone that's at your church that's involved with something like this. Help us to get the word out because we love being able to equip leaders just like you. Remember, hit that follow button wherever you're enjoying our show. Until next time, keep leading well. We'll see you right back here next week on Church Leadership Lab.
This episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast is brought to you by Ministry Brands, the largest provider of church technology software. Over 90,000 churches rely on Ministry Brands for their single platform solution that brings together all the digital tools a church needs. From online giving to websites to church management software and more, Ministry Brands is leading the way in simple to use, innovative solutions, all with the goal of empowering healthy churches. To learn more, visit ministrybrands.com.